My friend, listen carefully. Your life is not waiting for change. Your mind is. Every dream you've ever had, every goal you've ever written down, and every destiny you've ever desired, all begin in one invisible place, your thoughts. You can't live beyond the way you think. You can't rise higher than the vision you hold in your mind. You can't create a life greater than the one your mind is willing to imagine. The truth is simple. Your life moves in the direction of your most dominant thoughts. If your mind is small, your world will always feel small. If your thoughts are filled with fear, your future will be limited. But if your mind expands, your world expands. You don't need a new life, you need a new mindset. Everything in your life right now began as a thought. Before anything ever existed in the physical world, it first lived in the invisible world of imagination. Every building was once just an idea in someone's mind. Every business started as a spark of possibility in someone's thoughts. Every invention, every relationship, every success, they all began in the mind. Your thoughts are the blueprints of your reality. You cannot build a life different from the one you continuously imagine. If your thoughts are filled with fear, worry, and limitation, then your life will mirror those same boundaries. But when your thoughts are filled with purpose, clarity, and expectation, your life begins to open up in ways that seem miraculous. You attract not what you want, but who you are in your mind. If you wake up thinking small, life will shrink to fit your thinking. But if you wake up with boldness and possibility, you'll notice that the world starts to respond differently. Doors you once thought were locked begin to open. People who once ignored you begin to take notice. Opportunities that seemed out of reach suddenly appear within your grasp. Why? Because your thoughts have changed the atmosphere around you. Your thoughts are like seeds. Whatever you plant will eventually grow. If you plant doubt, you'll harvest hesitation. If you plant confidence, you'll harvest courage. The soil doesn't decide what to produce. It simply responds to the seed. Life works the same way. It doesn't argue with your thoughts. It multiplies them. Every time you think, I'm not good enough, the universe begins to build walls around your potential. But every time you think, I am capable, I am prepared, I am chosen for this moment, those same walls begin to crumble. Look around your life. Everything you see is evidence of the thoughts you have tolerated. Your relationships reflect your thoughts about love and worth. Your career reflects your thoughts about capability and value. Your peace reflects your thoughts about control and surrender. If you constantly think that life is unfair, you'll keep finding reasons to prove it. But if you start thinking that life is full of lessons, not losses, your entire perspective begins to shift. A person who believes they can will always find a way. A person who believes they can't will always find an excuse. Two people can face the same storm. One will drown in fear, and the other will use that storm to sail further. The difference isn't the storm, it's the state of the mind steering the ship. Your external conditions are powerless against a mind that's made up. Think about a simple example. Imagine a person who wakes up every morning complaining about their job. They tell themselves, I hate this place. I'm stuck here. I can't do better. Every day becomes a repeat of the last because their mind has already decided there's no better future. But imagine another person in the same situation who wakes up saying, this may not be where I want to end up, but it's where I'm starting. I'm learning something here. I'm preparing for more. That one change in thought transforms their energy, their work ethic, and the opportunities that come their way. One lives in frustration, the other lives in preparation. The job didn't change. Their thoughts did. You see, life doesn't respond to need, it responds to belief. You can be desperate for change, but until your thoughts align with that desire, nothing will move. A poor mindset cannot produce a prosperous life. You can't live victoriously while thinking like a victim. You can't walk in purpose while entertaining thoughts of failure. Transformation begins when you take responsibility for the direction of your thoughts. Every day, your mind is speaking. It's telling you stories about who you are, what you can do, and what's possible for your future. The question is, whose voice are you listening to? The voice of fear says, what if it doesn't work? The voice of faith says, what if it does? The voice of doubt says, you've failed before. The voice of wisdom says, you learned before. You cannot silence negative thoughts by force, but you can override them with truth. If you keep telling yourself, I'm not ready, you will never start. But when you shift your thought to, I may not be fully ready, but I'm willing, life begins to cooperate with your courage. The moment your thoughts change, your energy changes. The moment your energy changes, your habits change. The moment your habits change, your destiny shifts. That's why people who think differently always live differently. Because they've learned that the mind is the steering wheel of life. You can't drive towards success while staring in the mirror of your past. You can't reach new heights while your thoughts are chained to old pain. Every time you replay an old wound, you relive that moment emotionally, and it keeps you trapped. But when you shift your thought from, why did this happen to me? To, what is this teaching me? You reclaim power over your story. Think of an athlete training for the Olympics. Long before they hold the medal, they've already seen themselves winning in their mind hundreds of times. That vision becomes their motivation, their discipline, their reason to push through pain. The victory is not won in the stadium, it's won in the mind. The same is true for you. Whatever destiny you desire must first be conquered in your thoughts before it ever appears in your life. You have to start thinking on the level of your purpose, not your problems. Stop asking, what if I fail? And start asking, what if I succeed? Stop saying, I don't have enough, and start saying, what can I create with what I have? Because the truth is, your thoughts are either your prison or your passport. And whichever one they become is up to you. When you learn to control your thoughts, you control your emotions. When you control your emotions, you control your behavior. And when you control your behavior, you control your results. Everything begins in the mind because your thoughts don't just describe your life, they design it. You become what you constantly think about. Your thoughts are not harmless little whispers in your mind. They are powerful forces shaping your entire existence. Every time you repeat a thought, whether it's positive or negative, you are giving it permission to sculpt your reality. Your life is simply a reflection of the conversations happening inside your head. The person you are today is the product of the thoughts you entertained yesterday, and the person you will become tomorrow will be shaped by the thoughts you are nurturing right now. If you constantly think about fear, you begin to live afraid. If you constantly think about failure, you start acting like someone who has already lost. But if you constantly think about purpose, strength, and victory, you start carrying yourself like someone who expects to win. That's the difference between people who rise and people who remain the same, the direction of their thinking. You will never live beyond the picture you carry in your mind. A poor person with a wealthy mindset will eventually rise out of poverty, while a wealthy person with a poverty mindset will eventually lose it all. The outer world always adjusts to the inner picture. That's why you must be careful about what you allow to play on the screen of your imagination. Your mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's rehearsed. It simply believes what you feed it. Have you ever noticed how when you start worrying about something, your entire body reacts as if it's already happening? Your heart races, your palms sweat, and your peace disappears. Why? Because your mind controls your emotions, and your emotions control your reality. The more you think about something, the more real it becomes in your world. That's why people who constantly think about problems rarely find solutions. Their mind is too busy replaying the problem to create a possibility. Think about this. A person wakes up every morning thinking, I'm not enough. They go through the day comparing themselves to others, doubting their own voice, minimizing their potential. They start acting small, speaking small, and expecting small. Eventually, life starts giving them exactly what they expect, small results. But another person wakes up and thinks, I am capable, I am growing, I am becoming better every day. They begin to walk differently, speak differently, and attract different outcomes. The circumstances around them may not change overnight, but their thoughts change their energy, and that energy changes their experience. You attract what you think about most. If your mind is full of lack, you'll see lack everywhere. But if your mind is full of gratitude, you'll start noticing blessings in the smallest places. It's not that life suddenly changed, it's that your awareness did. You began to see from a higher frequency. You began to tune your thoughts toward abundance. The richest people on earth are not always those with the most money, but those with the richest thoughts. Your thoughts are like the thermostat of your destiny. They set the temperature of your life. No matter how cold or hot it gets on the outside, your internal thermostat brings things back to the level of your belief. You can't rise higher than your self-image. You can't outperform the story you believe about yourself. You can change your clothes, your location, your friends, even your job. But until you change your thoughts, the results will remain the same. Imagine someone trying to change their life while holding on to thoughts like, I'll never make it, I'm too old, or it's too late. Those thoughts become invisible chains. They stop progress before it starts. But when that same person begins to think differently, I still have time, I can learn, I'm capable of growth, something awakens inside them. The same energy that once felt trapped begins to move. Hope returns, vision returns, strength returns. That's the power of thinking on purpose. Every great transformation begins in the mind. A student who believes they are intelligent will approach learning with confidence. A leader who believes they can make a difference will inspire others to follow. A parent who believes they can raise strong children will nurture with intention. But when the mind is filled with self-doubt, even the strongest potential is buried under insecurity. You become what you constantly think about because the mind is always creating alignment between your inner world and your outer actions. Your thoughts shape your self-talk, and your self-talk shapes your habits. If your inner voice keeps saying, you can't do this, eventually you'll stop trying. But if your inner voice says, keep going, you're closer than you think, you'll keep pushing until the door opens. That's why the most powerful battles are not fought on the outside. They're fought in the mind. And the ones who win are not necessarily the smartest or the strongest, but the ones who have mastered the discipline of their thoughts. Take a look at athletes, musicians, or entrepreneurs who reach the top of their fields. They don't just train their bodies or build their businesses. They condition their minds. They visualize success before they see it. They speak belief before they feel it. They focus on possibility even when surrounded by pressure. Their minds are set on excellence, and that mental pattern manifests in their performance. You become what you constantly think about, and that's not philosophy, that's a law of life. If you think limitation, your creativity dies. If you think expansion, ideas begin to flow. If you think fear, your courage shrinks. If you think faith, your spirit grows stronger. The mind doesn't argue, it simply obeys. You tell yourself, I can't handle this, and your body agrees. It shuts down. You tell yourself, I've got this, and your energy rises to meet the challenge. Every successful person had to reprogram their thoughts before their life changed. They had to stop feeding their mind with excuses and start feeding it with purpose. They had to silence the voices saying, you're not enough, and replace them with, I'm being prepared for something great. That shift in thought didn't just change their attitude, it changed their outcome. The truth is, you are always becoming something. The only question is, what are your thoughts making you become? Because every day, your dominant thoughts are molding your character, your attitude, your confidence, and your future. What you constantly think about, you will eventually live out. Renewing your mind daily is not an option. It's a necessity if you want to live a life of growth peace, and purpose. The world around you is constantly trying to shape your thinking through what you see, what you hear, and what you experience. Every day, there are voices fighting for your attention, voices of fear, voices of limitation, voices of doubt, voices that tell you you're not good enough, not ready, not capable. If you don't intentionally renew your mind, those voices will slowly reprogram you to live beneath your potential. That's why you must take charge of your mental atmosphere every single day. When you wake up in the morning, the first thing that needs to be aligned is not your schedule, it's your mind. Because if your mind is cluttered, your day will be chaotic. If your thoughts are negative, your actions will be hesitant. But when your mind is renewed, your steps become bold and your direction becomes clear. You cannot pour new possibilities into an old mindset. A renewed life requires a renewed way of thinking. Think of your mind as a garden. If you don't tend to it, weeds will grow automatically. You don't have to plant negativity. It shows up on its own. But if you want peace, hope, confidence, and joy to grow, you must plant those seeds daily through what you read, what you say, and what you meditate on. Renewal means removing the weeds of doubt and replacing them with thoughts of victory. It means pulling out the roots of fear and planting seeds of courage. Every day, you must ask yourself, what am I allowing to grow in my mind today? Renewing your mind is not something you do once a year, once a month, or when life gets hard. It's something you do daily, just like taking a shower. You can't take one shower and expect to stay clean forever. The same is true for your thoughts. They must be washed daily from the dirt of negativity that the world throws at you. Every time you scroll through social media, watch the news, or listen to conversations, information is being deposited into your mind. Some of it feeds your purpose, and some of it poisons it. Renewal is the process of filtering out what doesn't belong. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to think negatively? It's because the human mind naturally gravitates toward what's wrong before it sees what's right. That's why you have to train your mind to think differently. A renewed mind doesn't ignore reality. It simply refuses to be ruled by it. It acknowledges the problem but focuses on the solution. It sees the obstacle but keeps its attention on the opportunity. Renewal means learning to direct your thoughts instead of being directed by them. Imagine someone who wakes up every morning and immediately checks their phone. They scroll through other people's lives, comparing themselves, feeling behind before the day even begins. Their energy drops, their motivation weakens, and their confidence fades. But imagine another person who wakes up and spends the first few minutes feeding their mind with empowering thoughts, gratitude, and vision. They remind themselves of who they are, what they're capable of, and what they're working toward. That person steps into the same world, but with a completely different energy. The difference between the two is not the events of the day. It's the renewal of the mind at the start of the day. Renewal also requires awareness. You must become conscious of your inner dialogue, that silent conversation you have with yourself every day, because your thoughts shape your feelings, and your feelings shape your choices. If your thoughts are negative, your emotions will follow, and your actions will produce negative results. But when your thoughts are renewed, filled with strength, faith, and expectation, your emotions become aligned with power, and your actions begin to create momentum. A renewed mind is the breeding ground for transformation. You cannot think small all week and expect to live big on the weekend. You cannot fill your mind with gossip, fear, and self-doubt, and then wonder why peace feels distant. Renewal is about consistency. It's about reprogramming your mind with truth until it becomes your natural way of thinking. Every single day you have to decide, will I feed my mind with weakness or with wisdom? Will I dwell on what I lost or will I focus on what I'm learning? Renewal is a decision, not a feeling. You may not feel strong every day, but you can still think strong every day. Daily renewal is also about who you surround yourself with. If you keep company with small thinkers, your dreams will start to shrink. If you keep company with people who complain constantly, you'll start to see life through the same lens of frustration. But when you surround yourself with people who dream bigger, who challenge your excuses, who remind you of your potential, your mind stays sharp. Renewal is not only what you do alone, it's also who you walk with. There will be days when negativity tries to return, when old habits knock on the door of your mind. That's when you must remember renewal is a fight. It's the battle between who you used to be and who you're becoming. Every time you choose peace over panic, every time you choose discipline over distraction, every time you choose gratitude over complaining, you are renewing your mind. And the more you do it, the stronger you become. Renewing your mind is the key to breaking cycles. Many people are trapped in the same emotional patterns, not because they lack talent or opportunity, but because they've never changed the way they think. You can't enter a new season with an old mentality. If you want new results, you must have new thoughts. Renewal is what allows you to step out of repetition and into transformation. The most successful people in any area of life are not those who never fail, but those who know how to renew their mind after failure. They don't let disappointment lie rent free in their thoughts. They don't let rejection redefine their worth. They wake up every day, wipe off yesterday's dust, and renew their focus, because they understand that a renewed mind is stronger than any setback. When you make renewal a daily habit, your perception changes. You begin to see possibility where others see pressure. You start to notice lessons where others see losses. You start to move with clarity when others move in confusion. That's the power of a renewed mind. It gives you control over your inner world, even when your outer world feels unstable. Renewing your mind daily is how you rise above the noise of the world. It's how you silence fear before it grows. It's how you remind yourself that you are not defined by what happened, but by what you choose to think about next. Every morning you are given a blank page. Renewal is how you decide what story you will write on it today. Your mind is the most valuable territory you will ever own, and yet most people guard their phones more than their thoughts. They protect their money, but leave their minds open to pollution. They lock their homes at night, but allow negativity, fear, and gossip to walk freely into their imagination. You must understand that your life will always move in the direction of the thoughts you permit to live in your mind. That's why you must guard it like treasure, because that's exactly what it is. Everything you'll ever create, accomplish, or become begins there. Your mind is the control center of your destiny. Whatever dominates your thoughts eventually dominates your actions, and your actions shape your results. That means whoever or whatever controls your mind has control over your life. Think about that for a moment. If you allow fear to control your thoughts, fear will dictate your decisions. If you let doubt lie rent-free in your head, it will rob you of opportunity after opportunity. But when your mind is guarded with strength, discipline, and focus, you become unstoppable. You move through life with clarity, purpose, and peace, because nothing external can easily shake what is rooted internally. Every day, thousands of thoughts compete for space in your mind. Some come from your environment, what you see, hear, and experience. Others come from your past, old voices, old pain, old failures that try to whisper, "You're not enough." If you don't guard your mind, those voices begin to grow louder until they become your internal soundtrack. And before long, your actions begin to dance to that rhythm of doubt. But the moment you say, "No, my mind is sacred ground," you start to take your power back. Guarding your mind means you become selective about what you allow in. Not every conversation deserves your attention. Not every movie, song, or post deserves your energy. If something doesn't align with your purpose, it doesn't belong in your mental space. You cannot build a strong mind while feeding it weak content. You cannot expect peace while entertaining chaos. Your mind becomes what it consumes, just like your body becomes what it eats. A diet of negativity produces mental sickness. A diet of truth and inspiration produces mental strength. Think about a gardener tending to rare flowers. He doesn't let weeds grow freely. He doesn't let pests linger. He watches the soil carefully, making sure it's clean, rich, and balanced. That's exactly how you must treat your mind. When a negative thought tries to take root, you pull it out quickly. When a discouraging memory resurfaces, you replace it with truth. When people try to plant seeds of doubt, you close the door before those words find soil. Guarding your mind isn't about denial, it's about direction. It's about choosing what deserves to shape your thoughts. Life will always present things you cannot control, but you can always control how long you think about them. You can't stop the bird from flying over your head, but you can stop it from building a nest there. It's the same with thoughts. You might not stop every negative thought from appearing, but you can refuse to let it stay. When you guard your mind, you refuse to dwell on things that drain you. You stop replaying what hurt you. You stop rehearsing failure. You stop allowing worry to dominate your imagination. Because you realize your imagination is sacred. It's where the future is born. Think about someone who constantly listens to gossip, negative news, and complaining. Slowly, without realizing it, their mood changes. Their confidence fades. They start speaking the same language of limitation they keep hearing. That's not coincidence. That's conditioning. But someone else who spends their mornings reading something inspiring, listening to empowering messages, reflecting on gratitude, and meditating on growth, starts to think differently. They see possibilities others can't. They respond with peace while others react with panic. The only difference is the state of their mind. One allowed the world to shape them. The other decided to shape their world. Guarding your mind also means being careful about the company you keep. The people closest to you have the loudest access to your thoughts. If you spend time around people who constantly complain, criticize, and discourage, you'll soon start to echo their mindset. But if you surround yourself with people who challenge you, uplift you, and remind you of your potential, your thinking expands. Guarding your mind doesn't mean isolating yourself. It means choosing your influences wisely. Sometimes the battle to protect your mind happens quietly. It's that moment when you feel anxiety trying to rise and you decide to breathe instead of panic. It's when a memory of failure resurfaces and you remind yourself of how far you've come instead of how much you lost. It's when you hear someone doubt your dream and you choose to stay focused instead of defending yourself. Those are the unseen moments that build mental power. Each time you do it, you reinforce the boundaries around your peace. Guarding your mind is also about self-awareness. You must learn to recognize when your thoughts are shifting in the wrong direction. Sometimes your mind starts whispering things that seem small but are actually destructive. I'll never be good enough. I always mess up. Nobody really cares about me. If you let those thoughts repeat unchecked, they become beliefs, and beliefs shape identity. But when you catch them early and replace them with truth, I'm growing, I'm learning, I'm capable, you protect your identity before it crumbles under the weight of lies. There's a reason the most successful people spend time alone in reflection. They understand that solitude is not loneliness, it's security. It's where you recalibrate your mind, clear the noise, and reconnect to your purpose. Guarding your mind often means saying no to distractions so you can say yes to focus. It means learning to disconnect from chaos to protect your clarity. Because your peace is priceless and your focus determines your future. Don't underestimate the power of one small thought. A single seed of doubt can grow into a forest of fear. A single spark of faith can ignite a lifetime of victory. That's why you must guard your thoughts like a watchman guards a city. Every thought you allow in is either building your destiny or breaking it down. Your mind is the vault of your potential. Protect it, feed it, and never let the wrong hands touch it. The way you think determines the way you speak, and the way you speak determines the way you live. When your thoughts are filled with possibility, your words carry power, and your actions start creating the life you were born to live. You can't think defeat and speak victory. You can't think small and live large. Everything in your life is a reflection of your inner conversation. The person who thinks in limitation will always speak in fear, but the one who thinks in possibility speaks in faith, and faith is the language that moves mountains. When you begin to think possibility, your mind starts breaking free from the cage of doubt. You stop asking, "Can I?" and start saying, "Why not me?" The moment you start thinking that things can change, they begin to change. The greatest power you have is not in your hands, but in your mind. Your thoughts set the tone for the kind of future you experience. If you think that you're too late, life will always make you feel behind. But if you think that you're just getting started, opportunities will start finding you. Life responds to the story you tell yourself. Every breakthrough begins in the mind. Every success story started with a moment when someone refused to accept what was and started believing in what could be. The difference between ordinary people and extraordinary people is their mental vocabulary. The ordinary person says, "That's impossible." The extraordinary person says, "Let me figure out how." Possibility thinkers don't wait for conditions to be perfect. They create possibilities in imperfect conditions. They refuse to let logic destroy imagination. You must learn to speak destiny. Words are containers of energy. They either create or destroy. Every time you open your mouth, you are prophesying your future. If you keep saying, "I'm broke," you're giving your words the power to sustain that reality. But when you say, "I'm working toward abundance," even if you're not there yet, you're sending a signal to your mind and to the world that you are on your way. Words are seeds. They grow in the soil of belief. You can't plant words of doubt and expect a harvest of faith. You can't plant words of fear and expect a harvest of courage. What you speak consistently becomes your reality eventually. Think about a person who constantly says, "Nothing ever works out for me." Before long, they start to notice all the reasons that statement is true, because the mind will always prove what the mouth declares. But another person wakes up each morning and says, "Something good is going to happen for me today." That person begins to notice opportunities others overlook. Their language opens their eyes. Their words create awareness, and that awareness attracts experiences that align with what they speak. That's why you can't afford to speak carelessly. Your words are not just sounds. They are construction materials for your destiny. Living intentionally means you stop drifting and start directing. Life doesn't change because you hope. It changes because you act. Intention is the bridge between belief and manifestation. Too many people think great thoughts and speak powerful words, but never follow through with purposeful action. Thinking possibility and speaking destiny are not enough if your lifestyle doesn't match what you claim to believe. To live intentionally means every decision, every relationship, every moment is aligned with your purpose. It means you stop doing things just to survive and start doing things that move you towards significance. Intentional living requires awareness. You must know what you're thinking, what you're speaking, and why you're doing what you're doing. The moment you start living on purpose, distractions lose their power. You stop chasing applause and start chasing alignment. You stop seeking approval and start seeking assignment. People who live intentionally are not the ones who have the easiest lives. They're the ones who know why they wake up in the morning. Every day you have a choice. You can think about problems, or you can think about possibilities. You can speak about what's wrong, or you can declare what's right. You can live by accident, or you can live by intention. The difference between success and stagnation is one simple decision: to focus your mind on what you want to create instead of what you want to avoid. The energy you give your attention to expands. When you think possibility, your creativity activates. When you speak destiny, your confidence rises. When you live intentionally, your results multiply. Take a look at people who've made an impact in any field. They didn't wait for inspiration. They created it. They didn't wait for luck. They designed their days with purpose. They woke up with vision, they spoke with conviction, and they acted with consistency. That's what separates dreamers from doers. Dreamers wait for perfect timing. Doers live intentionally in imperfect timing. The truth is, life rewards focus. When your thoughts, words, and actions agree, your world begins to shift in your favor. Think of a farmer planting seeds. He doesn't wait to see if the weather feels right. He plants because he understands seasons. He speaks to his land, waters his crops, and expects a harvest. That's how you must treat your destiny. You plant the right thoughts, water them with the right words, and nourish them with intentional actions. Eventually, what you've been thinking, speaking, and doing will grow into the reality you envisioned. You can't keep saying, "One day I'll change," while living the same way today. Change begins the moment you start aligning your inner world with your desired outer world. Thinking possibility means seeing potential where others see problems. Speaking destiny means talking about your vision even when no one else sees it yet. Living intentionally means showing up every day like the future you want is already on its way. You have to talk yourself into the life you want. You have to think yourself into growth. You have to act yourself into transformation. Don't let your words work against your dreams. Don't let your thoughts betray your purpose. Don't let your days be spent without direction. Every thought is a seed, every word is a declaration, and every action is a step toward your destiny. Your life is waiting to become what your mind dares to imagine, what your mouth dares to confess, and what your actions dare to pursue. The moment you decide to change your thoughts, you have already changed your direction. And when your direction changes, your destiny has no choice but to follow. Your mind is the architect of your tomorrow. Your thoughts are the blueprints, and your actions are the builders. Every great destiny was first built in silence, in the privacy of a renewed mind that dared to dream bigger than its surroundings. You don't need a new year, a new job, or a new opportunity to start changing your life. You only need a new mindset. The difference between where you are and where you want to be is one thought away. One new thought can create a new belief. One new belief can inspire a new action. And one new action can produce a new reality. That's how powerful your mind is. It doesn't take years to shift your life. It takes one decision to think differently. You have been programmed to survive, but now it's time to reprogram your mind to succeed. Don't let your past thoughts trap you in past patterns. You can't expect a new season while living with an old mentality. You see, transformation doesn't happen by accident. It happens by awareness. You must tell yourself, "I refuse to live another day thinking small. I refuse to speak defeat over my destiny. I refuse to act like I am powerless." The truth is, you have been powerful all along. You just haven't been thinking like it. You are not waiting for change. Change is waiting for you to think it into existence. Your life will never rise above your level of thinking. If your thoughts are poor, your life will shrink. But if your thoughts are rich with faith, purpose, and determination, your life will expand in ways you never imagined. Every time you say, "I can't," your mind shuts down possibility. But every time you say, "I will find a way," the universe opens a door. Your words and your thoughts must become partners in destiny. Speak like a person who already sees victory. Think like someone who has already won. Walk like someone who refuses to go back to the old version of themselves. Because the truth is, you are the only one standing between who you are and who you can become. No one can think for you. No one can speak for you. No one can live your destiny but you. Your thoughts are the soil. Your words are the water. Your actions are the sunlight. Together, they create the harvest of your future. Stop waiting for motivation. Start becoming it. Stop asking for signs. Start being the sign. The world doesn't reward those who wait for change. It rewards those who create it. Your destiny is not written in the stars. It's written in your mind. You decide every single day whether to rise or retreat, to grow or to shrink, to create or to complain. The mind you feed will become the life you lead. You are not stuck. You are simply thinking too small. You are not behind. You are just being prepared. You are not broken. You are being rebuilt for something greater. The pain you feel right now is not punishment, it's preparation. Every setback is a setup for a stronger comeback. Every delay is designed to sharpen your vision. You can't control what happens around you, but you can always control what happens within you. And when you master your inner world, your outer world begins to obey you. You must start talking to yourself differently. When fear whispers, "You can't," respond, "Watch me." When doubt says, "You're not ready," say, "This is my time." When people say, "It's impossible," tell them, "It's inevitable." Because the moment your mindset shifts, your atmosphere shifts. The energy around you begins to rearrange itself to match the frequency of your new thoughts. You attract what you think, not what you wish. So stop wishing for better days and start thinking them into existence. The greatest prison you will ever escape is the one built in your mind. And the greatest freedom you will ever experience is when you take back control of your thoughts. You are not a victim of circumstance, you are a creator of reality. Stop feeding your fears and start feeding your faith. Stop replaying your failures and start rehearsing your victories. Every time you choose faith over fear, you write a new page in your destiny. So rise up. This is your moment to think higher, speak bolder, and live greater. Refuse to settle for mediocrity when excellence is calling your name. Refuse to let negative thinking rob you of divine potential. Your future is not waiting for your situation to change. It's waiting for your thoughts to change. The day your mind shifts is the day your destiny begins to move. Change your thoughts, and you will change your destiny, not for a season, not for a moment, but forever.